Okay, so this is part two. So there has been an influx of people with cancer lately, um, primarily women with breast cancer or fibroids or uterine cancer, things of that nature. And so this is the very personal experience I'm going to talk to you guys about. So I've been having a lot of issues for many, many years. Ever since I was much, much younger, I've been diagnosed with dysmenorrhea. I've been diagnosed with, I forget the other word. I've had lots of fibroids to the point where when um, I was in my late 20s, they wanted to do a hysterectomy and I was guided not to. In 2003, they wanted to do a hysterectomy. And again, I said no. And then most recently, they wanted to do another procedure. Um, I was not Sorry, I don't know if that's affecting video. Let me decline. Um, or was I? Oh, so as most people know, I don't trust normal medicine unless I absolutely have to. And so I've already gone under the knife once for fibroids, but I didn't get the procedure they recommended, which was a hysterectomy. I just feel like my body parts should be where they are, and so I didn't do it. And then they told me that I could start getting them again in 2 years, and then they ended up coming back in 6 months. Yeah, 6 months. And so that's when I actually started the holistic journey back in 2003, maybe 2004. Um, I met a doctor of naturopathy and I learned more about, using certain hormones to get it under control and eating different and things that might be affecting it. But they never talked about the spiritual aspect or the thought aspect. That just wasn't part of it. And so as time has gone on, it's been something that I've been battling with back and forth. And what I finally realized the other day, when I was going to go under the knife again, um, a couple of things happened. So I went to the doctor and I thought I was going to talk about the procedure. And as it turned out, they somehow got it messed up and they were going to do another biopsy. And I'm like, you guys have already done the biopsy. Lost total faith again. And then tried to talk to the doctor, and the doctor was very rude and didn't want to address my questions. And I'm not having a procedure without my questions addressed. And so I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go back to the drawing board and heal myself. I've been able to do it this long and I'm probably going into menopause soon. Well, the more I read, the more it led to, this particular thing that I have can lead to cancer. And then I was like, I've already had skin cancer, treated that. And so I know that cancer comes from non forgiveness. And depending on where it's at, so this is what I want to talk about. A lot of people have been coming, to the table again with cancer. So cancer stems from not forgiving people, or not forgiving yourself, or extreme hatred and anger. And so it doesn't do you any good to hold on to those thoughts or feelings or emotions. So this being with my reproductive system, I did some tracking, I did some SRT, and it all made sense. And I don't know why it wasn't just a big aha moment like tons and tons and tons of times ago. But um, so here's the part where I get personal. When I was, I don't even know, 16 or 17, I had an abortion. Um, a year later, I ended up pregnant again. Well, it was instant karma, number one, because as it turned out, the abortion was actually twins. They didn't take all of it. So it turned into a mass, which showed up as what they call I don't know, something pregnancy, basically like a false pregnancy. So I had all the symptoms. I was testing positive. I wasn't going to have another abortion. So I had to be 16 because then it was 17. Okay, a year later. So I was going to, go through all of that again. There was too much guilt and emotions involved. So then I told my parents, go to get my ultrasound. There's no child in there because it's just a mass. How to have my first surgery, um, to get that removed. And so that spiraled into a series of events. Um, in a Hispanic family, you just don't come home pregnant young and there's no consequences. And so life really shifted. I went from being very spoiled, very highly thought of, to treated very differently. Let's just put it that way. And so I just couldn't stand being home anymore. I walked out on my 18th birthday. And so I made bad choices. I got married for the wrong reasons, to leave the house. I was ready to leave a year later, then ended up pregnant. And so I stayed for, as long as I could stand it. And so I guess that all catapulted into a series of events of um, guilt, anger, hostility. I wouldn't have had to leave the house yet. I could have made different choices. Um, I ended up, I kept saying things like, "Oh, I spent the best years of my life," at in this marriage, and making bad choices. And come to find out, no, like, these are the best years of my life, right? But for a long time, that was my recording, that was my story, that's what I kept telling myself. And so when you do that, you're affecting those organs. They listen and they react, right? And so even at the time, by the time I finally got into what I do and I forgave myself at this level, deep down in my subconscious, there was still some lingering things, right? The guilt, the shame, I can't talk about this, or, people wouldn't understand, or whatever. There's just a lot of things. Combine that with bringing that in from past lifetimes, combine that with, um, it all kept going back into a circle. Um, and then also as women, we tend to say things when someone's like, well, for those of you who have heavy cycles, oh, I hate being a woman, or I hate my period, or, this or that. And you get angry, and we get mad at our body parts. Like, I know I've literally said things like, "Ah, I wish I could just pull my uterus out." And then here they are really trying, but I've manifested that. If this is all tying in together. Um, and so I've opted not to have surgery, and I've opted to just, um, do some holistic treatment, so oils and teas. I've done SRT to clear those past things. I know now that there are issues, so self-talking to myself and my uterus, and I know it sounds crazy, but sometimes we have to do those things to clear patterns. And here's the thing: when you clear for yourself, you clear 7 generations forward. And so already in some of the things that I have experienced, I see it um uh remanifesting, in my daughter, or in or I've seen it in other people's patterns where there's 4 generations alive, and I've seen how it affects them. And so remember that when you do self work, you're not just healing yourself, you're healing other people. So that's my goal. And I bring this to light because, again, there's been so many people with cancer being diagnosed lately. Find out where it's coming from, clear it. And instead of, the choice is yours. I'm not saying don't do chemo, or don't do this, or don't do that. I'm just saying, if you're blessed enough that you've done whatever treatment and it's in remission, don't keep treating the symptoms. So I kept treating the symptoms, right? I just kept doing hormone therapy, or, like topical hormone therapy, or I kept, I did the procedure in 2003 that didn't stick, or I would take essential oils, and that's all great. But if you're not getting to the root of the issue and doing the forgiveness piece, it's going to keep rearing its ugly head like it has for me. And so we'll stay posted. I figured cleared my skin cancer by the forgiveness thing. And doing the self work and the oils. And so I have no doubts that this is going to work also. Wish I would have figured it out a lot sooner, which is why I'm posting this video. Again, I'm not saying come to me. There's so many ways for you to heal. Um, and I'm not always going to resonate with you. You're not always going to resonate with me. That's okay. The big picture is heal. Everybody to heal. Everybody to heal their bodies. This specifically has to do with, fibroids and cancer. But just remember, wherever you're feeling things, if it's not something from a past life, it could be emotional than what you're thinking. My shoulder keeps going out, and I know it's because lately I felt like I've been taking on too much, which is why I've taken the break from healing for a minute. I'm back in, so you guys are welcome to come. But I was just taking on too much. And so my shoulder kept popping out, and now it's feeling much better. And some might argue, well, it's structural. And so, you did something that made your shoulder go out of place, sure. But 5 other people can do the same motion and theirs doesn't go out of place. And the reason is they don't have that process, that self whatever they were thinking, because I did. I put my body in that state of weakness, and that's what allowed it to go out. So, people can argue with me all day that, oh, sometimes it's just your body. No, it all comes back to either your mental state, your emotional state, what your story is, what you're telling yourself over and over. Um, I try to always tell my body that it is strong and healthy, that I forgive everyone. Um, and that's not always easy. I've had some situations where I thought I would never forgive them, and two in particular that I thought I would not ever, um, or that it would take a long time. So it's funny because all this has made me think of one of the situations, and that person literally reached out to me last night at midnight, by social media, apologizing. And I knew that I was over it because I didn't have a negative gut reaction. I had, oh, that's nice. And let me let her know that, I forgive her. But that doesn't mean I'm letting them back into my life. It just means, that story is done. Had another situation where, I was angry for a really long time, like for years. Finally got over that, but also there was no contact, no nothing. Um, and that person attempted to reach out to me. I don't know for what. I'm not acknowledging, I'm not accepting, I'm not going to deal with that person. Um, but there was a slight still anger, like, why the fuck is this person reaching out to me, right? But then I got through it and I was like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the journey is. Like, I don't. I've cut ties. I obviously still need a little bit more forgiveness in that area. I wouldn't have that slight reaction, but it's definitely not the reaction I would have had, say, 7 years ago. So that's all. I hope that this helps someone. I've been putting off doing it for a week because I felt like it was too much, too personal, and spirit kept nagging me to the point of me continuing to dream it. And I already know that when I don't listen, I get in trouble and something happens. So I'm just following spirit. So again, I hope this helps someone. And if you have any questions, feel free to call me or text me or message me. Um, I am committing to, as of Monday, be better about answering. I have not been better. I have not been good at all lately because I've been having to do self care. And sometimes you need to do that, guys. You need to detach from people, from places, from things, so that it doesn't affect you spiritually, emotionally, and physically. So I'm wishing you the best day ever, and wishing you love and light, not lice, not at all lice, love and light and peace. See, I was mixing up my words. And I don't know how to edit, so you're just going to get this. Anyways, namaste.